Okay. That concludes our presentation. Student government report. Gabriella.
Good evening. I first wanted to apologize for not being able to attend the board meeting last month due to being sick and having no voice. I wanted to emphasize some of the points from my last report, even though they were attached in the February board meeting agenda. I first wanted to start by giving my condolences to Stoneman Douglas High School. Even though this tragic event happened exactly a month ago, it is still affecting so many people every day. It is hard for me as a student and to many others to wrap our heads around a day that was supposed to be filled with love ended up turning into a day of violence. It is heart-wrenching still to think about this incident, but I am confident in the changes that are being made and the memorials that students have been putting on. Today, Palm Beach Central High School had a memorial service showing our love and support for Stoneman Douglas High School. Our entire student body came together where we had a moment of silence, had a speaker from Stoneman Douglas, read 17 bios along with having 14 student desks and 3 teacher chairs on the football field, and released 17 doves at the end of the service. It was beautiful to see our school come together in a time of grieving and appreciate and recognize the lives that were lost. This service truly touched my heart, and I loved seeing our school show so much respect during the entire production. During lunch, we had booths set up where students could register to vote, learn about school safety, and learn about mental health. Our school also signed a banner that we hung up for students at Stoneman Douglas to see when they came back to school. Tomorrow we have a county meeting at Royal Palm Beach High School. The theme of this meeting is Lion King, and we will be listening to a speaker as well as attending workshops to build our leadership skills. This will be the last general session of the year where students are able to bring changes that they would like to see in our county, so these resolutions will be presented at the next board meeting. I also wanted to give thanks to Superintendent Robert Vosa for all he has done for Palm Beach County schools within the last 3 years. I, as well as many other students, feel fortunate to be going to school in Palm Beach County. Dr. Vosa has helped improve school graduation rates and has raised the district graduation rate. Students appreciate Dr. Vosa taking the time to always keep our wants a priority. As being the 11th largest district in the county, we all know how challenging this everyday job is. Even though we will miss his guidance, we are excited for him as he takes on impacting education at a new level. I also got the opportunity to speak with Keith Oswald regarding a resolution that was presented in the beginning of the year. I feel honored knowing that individuals in our district do care to know and work hard to improve the changes students would like to see in our schools. I also am very fortunate to have been invited to the accreditation interviews on January 29th. I was able to gain insight on how parents think about different topics, along with giving my own perspective on questions that were being asked. Palm Beach Central, along with many other schools, have recently had their dance marathon. This event is very important to many schools in our county as students work extremely hard to raise money for Children's Miracle Networks and kids with illnesses. We were able to exceed our goal and raised over $63,000, and Wellington High School had their dance marathon on Friday where they raised over $100,000. Both of these schools are in our county, and we are currently the highest raising high school fundraisers in the state. In closing, I believe that we need to take time to appreciate the people that we love because life is too short. Many students are very motivated to finish the year strong and continue to impact students through events that are being implemented and participating in at their schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Committee reports. Our first one is the Academic Advisor Committee and the Audit Committee. I believe there are no reports from them. Cork and the Diversity Committee. I think we have speakers.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. I'm Sue Davis-Killian. I am chair of the District Diversity and Equity Committee meeting. I'm here to give you an update on our activities since it's been a while since I've been here. The good news is we've been meeting monthly and actually achieving a quorum every month. Woohoo! So that's a big improvement from previous years. All of the major subgroups are represented by active members, so we have good input. In meetings over the past months, various district staff have shown us data and action plans related to graduation rates, discipline rates, charter schools, hiring practices, boundary changes, and various initiatives that are part of the strategic plan. We are currently developing a new meeting format that should allow us to be a little more efficient at giving you all advice. We want to be a real advisory committee, not just a committee that meets once a month to hear people talk. We've spent quite a bit of time giving input and helping to draft the equity policy. We're looking forward to having a final policy that this board can vote on. And we see our role as the diversity committee to be the one to create real metrics to measure compliance with and the effectiveness of the equity committee. We all know that a policy isn't worth the paper it's printed on if you don't have accountability for it. So I will be back in future months to give you all recommendations from the committee on how to measure and track specific items that are in the equity policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Doctor.
Good evening. My name is Lou Doctor. I'm representing your Construction Oversight and Review Committee this evening. Cork has 13 authorized members. One of the members found it necessary to resign due to eliminate a potential conflict of interest. There were 10 Cork members at our meeting on March 8th. We reviewed your building code services package that's being submitted to the state and recommended that it go forward on consent. PC1 pre-qualified vendors, we recommended that go forward on consent. PC2 is design services for renovation and repair of the Bear Lakes Middle School and the Wellington Landings Middle School. A few words on this particular project. This is one of 5 projects that are being submitted to you tonight, and it's very important that it get approved. Your staff is using a bundling approach, requesting that we approve the money to design the renovations for the school and that we approve tonight the money to finish the construction as a result of the design. The goal is to get the design done within the next 2 or 3 months and then authorize the immediate construction without any gap in time and have the schools completed and up to date by the time they open in the fall. This should expedite the work as it continues on. The projects include deferred maintenance, which has been postponed for many years because of lack of funding from the state, and this is an application of the sales tax money that's now coming in. The staffing has been assisted by ACOM, who's been a big help in getting the work done on time. Several questions around scope and funding were resolved by the discussion, and Cork voted to move forward on a vote of 10-0. Now, those same words apply to the next few projects. I'm just going to tell you the titles because the words are identical. PC3 Design Services for Timber Lakes Elementary School and Watson B. Duncan Middle School. Design Services for Lighthouse Elementary School and Del Prado Elementary School. Design Services for Cypress Trails Elementary School and K.E. Cunningham Canal Point Elementary School. And Design Services for New Horizon Elementary School and Jupiter Farms Elementary School. They were all recommended to either go forward on consent or by a vote of 10-0, and Cork was extremely pleased with the presentation of the material we got from the staff, even though it numbered 2,000 pages. Along with this comes another series of projects. These are the projects that fund the actual work to get done. And as you know, this is the work that's been postponed for many years. It's citations we received for unsafe conditions, roof repairs, broken windows, and the like that we just have had no funding. It takes $100 million a year to support our 186 schools, and we just have never received the funding from the state for that kind of activity. So the first one is PC7, construction at risk for Bear Lakes Middle School and Wellington Landings. PC8, construction for Timber Lakes, Trace, and Watson P. Johnson. PC9, construction management at risk for Lighthouse Elementary and Del Prado. And PC10, construction services, Cypress Trails and Cunningham Canal Point. And PC 11, construction at risk for New Horizons Elementary and Jupiter Farms Elementary, and they were all approved by consent. PC 12 on your agenda is design services for Verde Elementary School. This has been a change in that the design is being contemplated for a K through 8 school. The school is 38 years old, so it was a pleasure to see this project be proposed to us. This is for the design phase for Verde. And design services for Washington Elementary School, which is a replacement school. The school was originally opened 54 years ago. So Cork expressed their concern about remaining within the student cost station requirements of the state, and staff was obviously sensitive to that requirement. If we exceed the per student cost, we're penalized and we lose funding for the state for 3 years. So we have to make sure we juggle the state requirements and also provide the services that we need for our schools. ISIS, your committee will be reviewing any changes in scope and context, so your effort and the sales tax effort are glued together, and we're working on the same programs. MP1 was a motion to approve contingency use, and that was approved on consent. There were several discussion items that I wanted to brief you on briefly. We've seen a presentation for the new concepts in middle schools that are moving forward through the concept stage. Several issues were raised by court members in terms of the sizing, the location, the retention of old books, and the introductions of new technologies. It was noted that the school funding for new book materials has dropped significantly, and that's slowed our ability to keep up with the technology and the materials. Cork motioned to inform the board that the books and shelving in the new media centers should be designed, stocked, and funded properly. The motion passed by a 7-3 vote. The reason for the 3 votes was the feeling that it was not Cork's responsibility. The responsibilities fall within the principals with the funding available to outfit the libraries that they have. Adult education renovation program, you approved the funding for the renovation, and we're out now looking at construction bids to follow up on that effort. And Cork had a few suggestions to be considered by your staff. One is to make the resolution of the Addison Meisner Elementary School location decision. Report on the district work for architectural and construction management to the selection committees. Recommend counsel for the Department of Education or the State Attorney General report to us on how they intend to achieve the cost per student station. The formula for cost per student station is very complicated, and in some cases it applies and doesn't apply, and it needs to be clarified so we understand what we're doing and we fall within the required limits. It's an open door right now that needs to be closed. And then Cork asked the staff to look at alternate methods and alternate technologies to deliver the backup material. That's obviously an inside joke. We appreciate all the material you've given us, but we need to find an easier way to absorb it and review it. You have about 3 weeks to review the materials. We have about 4 days to review the material. So I just want to compliment in public the Cork members that put the time and effort to support your activity, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Right. Thank you very much. Ms. Feldman.
Good evening, Chairman Shaw, school board members, Dr. Avosa, Dr. Fenoy, and staff. The Academic Advisory Committee met on Monday, March 12th, and heard a presentation by Dr. Ruiz about the development of schools' master schedules and how the process has changed over the last 3 years. The development of the master schedule is now student-centered instead of being teacher-centered. During the presentation, Dr. Ruiz described how each school's data analysis has created more equity in course and program enrollment. For example, schools are using the PSAT results to identify students who have the potential for success in accelerated classes such as AP, ACE, and dual enrollment. Now, 90% of the students who have been identified as having AP potential are enrolled in these accelerated courses, where 3 years ago it was 59% of the AP potential students for some racial ethnic groups. Also, this analysis identified differences in courses offered in schools. 3 years ago, Algebra 1 was offered in some middle schools, and Algebra 1 Honors was offered in other middle schools. This analysis helped staff to identify that the honors level was offered only in the higher economic areas. Now the honors level is offered in all economic areas. There was also a discussion about other prominent inequitable practices that were found through the analysis process. Staff found that there were different retention rates in elementary schools, between schools and racial ethnic groups, and between regions. There were also different enrollment rates for advanced courses in EOC classes, and industry certification classes were also skewed across racial ethnic groups. And there was also inequitable access to performing arts electives. Now schools have shared best practices for better consistency, and the analysis this year shows that improvements have been made in all of those areas. Through this data analysis by school and staff and instructional superintendents, the schools have been able to identify where they feel they can improve, and the instructional superintendents have been able to share best practices that they've seen through their work with other schools. A committee member expressed concern that the best practices need to be shared across the district, not just from school to school or within a region, and requested that this information is shared with the committee in our next meeting. The discussion also brought up questions about the assignment of highly effective teachers to accelerated courses versus highly effective teachers assigned to lower level courses. A committee member also asked about the wide variation of the number of AP courses offered at our high schools. Some schools offer 24 classes, AP classes, and some schools offer only 4, 5, 6, but even more so specifically in math and sciences. At a time when it is our responsibility to prepare our students to be a part of the digital world and for STEM careers, it is concerning that only 8 high schools had more than 6 students taking an AP computer science test last year. This seems to indicate that only 8 of our high schools are offering an AP computer science class. Only 13 of our schools have AP chemistry. Only 14 have physics 1. Furthermore, there were schools where no students passed some of these math, for example, AP calculus or science exams. 2 concerns were raised that this information indicates that there is an inequity in course offerings and an inequity in sufficient preparation for the students to be successful in these courses. Next month, we will continue our discussion about this topic combined with teacher placement and retention as it relates to these course offerings. And I want to, one of our committee members made a comment that equity takes more work than inequity. And I just wanted to say the committee members appreciated the work that's gone into making this a more equitable school system, and to thank you for the continued effort along those lines. So thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes our committee reports. We now move to speakers, elected officials.